to die.
Introduction.
Since Jesus ascended to his Father over 20 centuries ago, Christians have been waiting for his return. On his return, according to Christian belief, the eschatological end, the end of this world, will take place. The resurrection of the dead, the transformation of the living, and the last judgment will also take place. The faithful people will be rewarded with eternal life in heaven, and the wicked will face eternal punishment in hell. This is the message that was brought to Africans by Western missionaries between 19th and 20th centuries. This is also what I was taught ever since my parents brought me into this world. What if I told you that the Agikuyu, your ancestors, had a different worldview, which is diametrically opposite to this? Let us explore this alternative worldview together in this video. We will also refer to one of the popular indigenous churches within modern Kikuyu land called AIPCA, or African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa, as an example of how they have interpreted this worldview.
Chapter 1. A World Without the End Times.
For eons, the Agikuyu people of Kenya have looked to the peak of Mount Kenya, Kirinyaga, as the dwelling place of their god. Huyu Mungu was known by many names: Mwene Nyaga, Murungu, Gai, etc. To the Agikuyu, death was not an ending, but a transition to the world of spirits, the Ngoma, who continued to interact with the living. This explains why the Agikuyu people lived with a deep sense of connection to their land, their ancestors, and their god, Mwene Nyaga. To the Agikuyu, the world was eternal, and life flowed seamlessly from one generation to the next. Death was seen not as the end, but as a transition, where the spirits of the departed continued to watch over the living. The Agikuyu never believed the world would end. To them, the world ended when one died, but the land, the sky, the mountains always remain. When a person dies, he comes to his end of life in this world. In this case, a person dies but leaves the world as he found it when he was born. As far as this view is concerned, therefore, the world itself does not come to an end. Rather, it is the people who live in it who come to an end. The following Kikuyu saying expresses this idea of the end of the world as marked by a person's physical death. Thie itheragera orakua. Literally, the world comes to an end to him who dies. The past age sets and ruling generations such as Iregi, Ndemi, na Madhadhi are used as examples to show that they once lived in this world, came to an end of their life in this world, but the world itself has continued to exist. The implication is that the world itself does not come to an end. Rather, it is the people who come to an end of their life in this world at death. This worldview stood in stark contrast to the Christian doctrine brought by missionaries, which introduced ideas of an apocalyptic end, resurrection, heaven and hell, and final judgment. Such Christian ideas have no counterparts in the traditional Agikuyu religious beliefs.
Chapter 2. Christianity arrives in Agikuyu land.
The late 19th and early 20th centuries brought Christian missionaries to Agikuyu land. Their message was one of salvation and the promise of eternal life, but it also carried warnings of an end time, a day of reckoning when the world would cease to exist as we know it. Christianity introduced symbols like heaven, hell, and the New Jerusalem. For many Kikuyu Christians, these were interpreted in material terms. This is because this message landed on people with different worldviews and beliefs. Out of this cultural encounter emerged the African Independent Pentecostal Church of Africa, or AIPCA. This church became a unique blend of Kikuyu traditions and Christian teachings. While many Kikuyu Christians embraced the apocalyptic vision, others held on to the belief that death marked a personal end, echoing their ancestral worldview. Some of the people, especially the old ones living in the rural areas of Kenya, have only visited the small towns in their areas. They only hear of the wonders in the city of Nairobi, where people do not cultivate or herd cattle, yet they never go hungry. Also, they hear of the big, beautiful, multi-storied houses and the lighted streets filled with so many vehicles. Having seen or heard about the wonders of the city, the idea of a heavenly city is more intelligible in the sense that such a heavenly city is conceived in a material sense. The city as a symbol becomes an actual city located up there in heaven. Such phrases as to enter or to reach or to arrive in the city of heaven are used by missionaries and preachers. The city of heaven is, in this case, thought as already built by God to await the arrival of the believers. It is therefore the destiny of the faithful Christians as far as the AIPCA and other African Christians such as the Akorino and PCEA members are concerned. These are a few hymns describing the life in heaven or Matwine. These hymns are extracted from the AIPCA worship books. In the Kikuyu Bible, the word Boshie can also mean a home. It is used in this sense when referring to the individual's abode in heaven. Thus, once a person's house is complete, God calls the owner to go and occupy it. The belief of a person having a home in heaven is based on the text of John's Gospel, where Jesus told his disciples,
"Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you?"
According to this view, the city of heaven is comprised of the homes or rooms which will be occupied by the faithful after the last judgment. There are no houses for the sinners, since their reward will be in the fire of hell. The following hymns illustrate this view. Heaven is also viewed by the AIPCA members as the heavenly country, which is by far better than any earthly country. To be sure, Agikuyu land, as we know it, is a productive agricultural part of Kenya. To talk of a better country or the heavenly country is not in terms of more rainfall or more food production. Rather, it is in terms of not working on the soil that people view the heavenly country. It is therefore a country like the Garden of Eden, where man will be provided with all his needs by God. In short, a country of no sorrows, but rest and joy.
Chapter 3 Signs of the End Times.
This blending of beliefs raises an important question. If the Agikuyu never believed in a universal end time, why should this idea have become central to their faith after converting to Christianity? Sometimes, and also depending on which social class you fall under. Hii dunia ya nyakero feels like everything is too difficult or a lot of things are not going the right way. It feels like you are under perpetual life challenges that seem not to end. This is exacerbated by the destruction of social bonds of a community which acted as a pillar against life challenges and the creation of an individualistic society. This worldview creates a feeling of hopelessness which the Christian teaching is supposed to provide a solution to. Just like every other knowledge or technology that has been introduced by Nyakero, they create the problem and most importantly sell you the solution to that problem. That is why among AIPCA members, the belief in an imminent end time is reinforced by interpreting modern events as signs of the apocalypse. Earthquakes, eclipses, pandemics, and wars are seen as fulfillments of biblical prophecy. Hymns and teachings emphasize that the return of Christ is near. Another danger with this apocalyptic teaching is what we have observed in people who are taught that the end of the world is near, has led to religious suicides in our neighboring country of Uganda, and also recently observed in our own country with Pastor Mackenzie.
Conclusion.
This eschatological teaching is harmful to your mental health. It is not our duty as children of the world to determine when the world is supposed to end. That is not a question we should even ask ourselves. It is a complete waste of time. We as humans don't own time. Just because we can estimate that there are 24 hours in a day does not mean we therefore understand the mind of God, so that we can predict the end of the world. I also believe that if our ancestors also had this worldview, then they would not have been able to survive as long as they did. This includes all our neighboring tribes in the territory of Kenya. That concludes this video. Before I leave, I have a question to ask you. Do you prefer a world with an ending or a world without an ending, as the past Agikuyu saw it?